Hi, this is Tyler McCoy, and I'm going to explain implementing the Transitional Fire Attack at the Dayton Fire Department. History of fire attack. The fire service has always attacked a structure fire from the unburned side. Well, what is a structure fire? A fire is a self-propagating exothermic oxidizing chemical reaction producing volumes of toxic and flammable gases and heat. These gases and heat will kill fire victims. What are Dayton firefighters currently taught? Dayton firefighters are taught from day one of rookie school to attack the fire from the unburned side of the house. Our tactics manual currently says, attack from the unburned side, in bold letters. Do not drive the fire into uninvolved areas, especially in attic spaces. This may mean entering through a rear of a structure and driving the fire out of the front. Advise other crews where the attack is being made, especially if it is not straight in the front door. So if we pull up currently and have fire showing from the front of the house, we're going to take more time by taking our hose line to the back of the house, forcing our way in, and then extinguishing that fire in the front of the house while at the time that fire is spreading and growing. Here's a picture of a Dayton house fire. The back of the house is on fire. That's the burn side. And in the front of the house is the unburned side. So again, the firefighters of this fire would go through the front. Here's a picture of firefighters going through the front door with their hose line to make an attack on the fire, the rear of the house. Here's a picture of the rear of the house. The house is fully involved in the rear. But firefighters will not currently put water on this fire. Why didn't firefighters currently extinguish the fire in the back of the house? Well, firefighters have been taught that if you spray water onto a fire, you will spread the fire through the rest of the unburned structure. This was based on old knowledge that was not based on any science or experiments. It was just based on thought. This original thought was once a hose stream is directed into an opening with fire or hot gases exiting, the fire could be pushed via 1. The pressure from the stream, or the airflow created by that stream, or 3. Steam expansion. When we use water to put out a fire, we create steam, and the thought was that steam would roll down onto victims and burn them. So why should we change our tactics? Well, the houses today are being constructed differently than they were in the past, which is making fires grow faster and hotter. Also, the furnishings in our structures are changing. They used to be based solely of wood, and now they're made of man-made plastics. Plastics burn a lot hotter than wood does. Research has also shown that water streams do not push fire throughout a house. I'll explain this further. And that controlling ventilation in a structure during a fire is critical to civilian and firefighter safety. So how are our structures changing today? Our fires are more volatile today than in years past due to increased use of synthetics in home furnishings. Coupled with lightweight building technology and energy-efficient features in homes, these new fuels have challenged us to reevaluate our best practices for fire extinguishment. Today, we're trying to build cheaper homes for the consumer, all the while making energy-efficient features. This wreaks havoc on firefighters. Here's a picture of a legacy Dayton house. It's a house built in the 1900s. The house itself is smaller than homes constructed today. The rooms are confined. You can see they're divided by walls. And the furnishings are made of natural wood products. The modern house is a lot bigger. It has open spaces. It's made of engineered wood, so instead of 2x4s, it's wood glued together with metal gusset plates. The materials inside the house, the furnishings, are made of plastics. And there is also an increased fuel load. We put more things into our house than we did back in the day. So what is this formula for modern day fire growth? Larger homes plus open spaces plus increased fuel loads plus those void spaces plus changing building materials equals faster fire propagation. Our fires are growing faster and hotter. Shorter time to flashover. Flashover is when the room is fully involved. Rapid changes in fire dynamics. The way fire grows has changed. This leads to shorter escape times for the civilians and shorter collapse time of that building, which will affect firefighter safety. Consequences due to modern houses, all those factors, especially the amount of combustibles we're keeping in our house and the type of combustibles being plastic has led to an increase in heat release rate. Heat release rate can be viewed as the engine driving the fire. This tends to occur in a positive feedback way. Heat makes more heat. So in a bedroom, if I would have bedroom fire, if I heat the bed up, the bed catches fire. That's going to heat up the lamp and the dresser. Those are going to catch on fire, which is going to lead to another dresser or nightstand, if that makes sense. Here's a picture of comparison of heat release rates of a legacy house and a modern house. The left is the legacy house. Have a wooden made couch, cigarette fire. There's not much fire after 4 minutes. However, that plastic furnishing is fully involved in 4 minutes and that room is flashed over. No victims would survive in that fire. So again, increased fuel loads and a higher heat release rate is leading to flashovers occurring sooner. This is brings bad things both for trapped civilians and for firefighters attempting to extinguish fires. So because of these known factors, research was conducted by UL and NIST to prove these theories wrong. In each of the UL experiments, the fire was allowed to grow to approximately peak burning rate, so that was the high heat release rate, before water was being introduced through the opening. To examine the impact of the water, temperatures were measured in each room 30 seconds before the water application, during the 10 seconds of water application, and 30 seconds after the water application. So unlike old school firefighting techniques, they actually put water from the outside of the building directly into the room on fire to see what it would do. What were the findings? Smoothbore fire streams and straight streams do not push fire. However, fog patterns do push fire, as the fire service had always known. A fog stream does introduce air. That way, because of that, with these findings, we must use smoothbore or straight stream nozzles. Controlling ventilation openings is critical to prevent a flashover. This is termed controlling flow paths. Doors and windows that are allowed to remain open feed oxygen to the fire, thus spreading and increasing the fire. This fire will continue to grow while the firefighter is donning their breathing apparatus, their SCBA, and while we're laying out the fire hose to combat that fire. How can we control these flow paths? The first in officer will perform their 360-degree size up, and upon that, if we find any open doors or windows, we're going to close those. We must use a thermal imaging camera to seek out any fire and close those doors if we find any. Water applied to the fire from the outside or a safe location, such as in a high-rise, will darken down the fire and cool the rest of the structure. This is known as resetting the fire or hitting it from the yard. 25 gallons of water in the experiment was directed off the ceiling of the fire room from the exterior. It decreased the fire room temperature from 1792 degrees Fahrenheit to 632 degrees in 10 seconds. The hallway temperature decreased from 273 degrees to 104 degrees in 10 seconds. This is very important for saving civilian victims trapped in a fire. How can we implement these findings? When a firefighter pulls up to a fully involved Dayton house fire at 3 a.m., how are they going to remember every key finding of a UL and a NIST experiment? They're not. So we have implemented an acronym to firefighters in order to remember the studies that the findings that the studies have shown. The acronym stands for S.L.I.C.E.R.S. We have 5 parts that are going to be done in sequential, so you have to do one before you do the next. We're going to size up the structure. The officer can do the 360 degree. During that 360, we're going to locate the fire. If we have any flow paths, we're going to identify them and control them. Close those doors and windows. We're going to cool the space from the safest location. Open up that window, or if it's already open, apply water from the outside, cooling the fire. Then we have to still go inside and do our offensive interior attack and extinguish that fire. Actions of opportunity. Anytime we get the opportunity to rescue someone or perform salvage, trying to save people's belongings, we're going to. If people are trapped in a fire, our number one priority has always been and will maintain the rescue of that victim. So again, the officer's going to do a 360-degree size up to start this process. We have to decide what fireground tactic we're going to implement. If we have several bedrooms going, we're going to implement an offensive attack using slicers. If it's fully involved, we're going to go defensive like we always have. Firefighter safety always remains the #1 priority on the fire ground. Now we're going to talk about each concept.
And discuss size up. We have become fairly familiar with size up concepts over the years, and those same themes continue here. But we still have a lot to learn about sizing up our fires on arrival and throughout the incident. Size up from the outside doing that initial 360 is so important. You need to account for the wind. You want to keep the wind at your back. You need to see where the fire is and where it wants to go. Play that through in your mind, and then come up with your tactics. Decide what you want your firefighters to do. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Many times I hear firefighters tell me, Dan, every fire is different. You're only doing science on, dozens of fires or hundreds of fires. I say, well, that's true, but the physics are the same every time. And I agree, every fire response is different, right? The time of day, who the crew is, what your resources are, where the hydrants are on that street, how advanced the fire is when you get there, all those sort of things. So it's true, every fire that they respond to is different. But then many of those same firefighters will tell me, I'm going through the front door every time. It just doesn't make any sense. Prior to selecting strategy for an incident, the incident commander must do a 360-degree look around the entire structure to make sure that they got as many facts as possible before they make the critical decision of interior, exterior, offensive, defensive, whatever title you call it. That 360-degree size up is a critical component to that decision-making process. The next step in the sequence is to locate where the fire is in the building. The research has shown us that fires are more likely to go what is called vent limited, meaning that firefighters may not see clear signs of fire when they arrive. Yet the fire may be in the building, just waiting for an unsuspecting firefighter to open a door or a window, giving the fire the air that it has been waiting for to support combustion.
During the locate phase of the S.L.I.C.E.R.S concept, we encourage company officers to carry their thermal imaging camera on their 360 survey. This allows them to see thermal areas that are normally obscured by smoke. This also allows them to plan for how they will attack the fire.
So during the locate the fire step, our goal is to determine where the fire is inside the building, using all of the tools at our disposal. We need to make an assessment of the fire conditions, looking for signs of elevated temperatures in the building, reading smoke conditions, and looking for signs of high pressure. If the signs of a working fire are present, proceed to the next step.